Hello there, you're very welcome to episode 30 of the Off the Ball League of Ireland podcast. What an episode we have for you in store here from Off the Ball Towers in Marconi House in Dublin. With myself, Jamie Moore, we're going to welcome three of the best young players in the League of Ireland to the studio in just a second. And we're also going to speak to Dundalk's Jamie McGrath about his call up to the Ireland under-21s. It's the first ever interview I've ever done in my life with a person in Kosovo. So he's going to tell us about their five-star lifestyle there and their hopes to make the European Championships with a couple of wins over Kosovo this coming weekend on Friday. At the same time as his Dundalk team will be playing in the FAI Cup quarter-finals against Limerick, and then they're going to face Germany at Tallaght Stadium on Tuesday evening, which is another huge qualifier for Ireland. Currently second in the group and hopeful to make the European Championship, which will take place in Italy next year. But before all that, we're going to welcome three young men into the studio. Darragh Leahy from Bohemians, Evan Osam from UCD, and Longford's Daniel O'Reilly. Lads, thanks for coming in. How are you?
Thanks for having me, lad.
Oh, good.
Thanks, Shay.
Firstly, Darragh, we just mentioned off air there about your recent goals. 97th minute against Shamrock Rovers.
I think it was the 99th minute, yeah.
99th minute?
Yeah,
one of the most amazing things I've ever seen in League of Ireland football, just that moment when that goal went in. And then very recently in the Cup against Galway, a cross shot into the top corner.
Yeah, and I think it was a shot, yeah. Seen the keeper off his line.
So, yes, explain to us about those goals. Firstly, the Rovers one.
Obviously, it was the last minute of the Dublin Derby, so I think doesn't really get much better than that. And the ball just came into me, and I don't really remember it. Boys were saying it was a tackle, but I'll take it as it comes. And the other one against Galway was a cross, and just got a bit of luck and went in.
You and goals aren't hugely common, but for you, you've got two really important ones in two massive games.
Yeah. Got one early on against Galway, so that kind of helped because it settled us down and we started playing. And obviously the one against Rovers got us the 3 points into the Dublin Derby.
What was the feelings like after any of the Rovers wins? Because of course it's been 3 wins and 1 draw, so you picked up 10 points against them, and the Bows dressing room has to be a happy place after those games.
Yeah, if you beat Rovers any time, I think it feels good, but the whole season unbeaten against them, it feels really good. And yeah, I don't think it really gets much better. Whole season unbeaten against Rovers, and as you said, 10 points out of 12.
What's the immediate feeling in the Bows changing room after a derby win, particularly the 2 in Tallaght?
Away from home is a big win, and obviously it's going to be really buzzing and stuff, but can't get too carried away because it's only 3 points at the end of the day. So
yeah, of course, they've been huge wins for you, and I suppose since that win and in the middle of that win you've picked up form really. I think it's 5 wins in a row. You've lost to Dundalk, before that you won 5 clean sheets. Can you put your finger on why the form has turned so well so quickly as such? Because it was a really up and down season up till that point.
Yeah, when we came back from the mid-season break, I think we hit the form. We beat Pats 1-0 in Dalymount. Then I think Sligo beat us, but we haven't conceded a goal in August, so that's really good because it doesn't really happen too often. And 5 clean sheets and 5 wins, so 2 cup ones as well. Yeah,
how much of an influence is Shane Supple on that? There's been so much talk about him and his Ireland call-ups, but every time you watch Bows play, he's always really, really good.
He is immense. Like he's great in the changing room with the young lads and all his experience he has, and when you have him behind them, it helps a lot.
Why is he so good?
As I say, his experience, and he has been away in England and he's come back and he's been around a long time, so I think it's just experience, yeah. Yeah,
and like for you as a young defender to have someone like him behind you, and then if you look at the other people in the back four, you've got someone like Derek Pender who's hugely experienced.
Ian Morris as well, yeah. There. The 2 of them, and the 3 of them all together, it helps loads with talking and stuff like that.
Yeah, and you've also got, even though the people who play centre-back, apart from Ian Morris, the likes of Dan Byrne and Rob Cornwall, they're young players in their mid-20s, but they've a huge amount of experience in the league. And for you as a young player coming in and being put straight into the team, how much of a help has that been, having people like that around you?
Yeah, it's massive help. Like, they settle you down very quickly, and Rob Cornwall and Dan Byrne as well as Ian Morris, everyone, yeah, it's a massive help.
How have you found your first season as a Senior League of Ireland player?
It's been good. I think it took me a while to get going. Probably the first round of games, 10 or so games. It took me a while to get used to the league and adapt to things, but I'm really loving it now and enjoying it. I think I've hit a bit of form as well. So.
Yeah, you picked up an injury in the middle, of course, having been in the team, and you must be really happy to have, jumped that hurdle and now be back in the team, as we said, in a really good run of form.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be more serious, but thank God it wasn't. It looked like it was going to be my ACL, but out for the season, but it's only 2 months, I think, and the mid-season break was in the middle, so that helped a lot. I didn't miss too many games. Yeah,
Evan knows all about injuries, which we'll mention in a couple of minutes. I'm always interested to try and find out about Bows, the role that the manager Keith Long has and the first team coach because everybody in the league knows that Trevor Qualley is one of the best coaches there is, if not the best coach. He's been a manager of a couple of clubs as well. How do they work together, and what are they like?
Yeah, Keith's, I think I owe a lot to Keith. Like, he signed me and didn't know much about me, and he took a risk by playing me, and thankfully it's paid off. So they gave me the opportunity to play in the League of Ireland. But Trevor as well, he's a great coach. He's probably one of the best around in the league. And the two of them just work really well together.
Yeah, in terms of a week, and I know you guys train as much really as the full-time teams, but you train in the evenings, Mondays, Tuesdays and Thursdays. I know Trevor takes a lot of the on-the-pitch stuff, but it's Keith who's signed the players, lots of young players, the likes of yourself and Owen Stokes and others, doing really, really well. So that dynamic between them has worked well. Yeah, really well. Like, Trev does take most of the sessions, and obviously Keith is a manager, so he has the last say and stuff. So they do work really well together, and the gelling us now, as you can see, we've hit a bit of form. So yeah, you're back to action this weekend in the Iron Brew Cup, because the FAI Cup game against Derry is off because Derry have internationals. I know the FAI haven't fixed the date for that game yet, so what's your understanding of when that game might happen? Because I understand you might have to go up there midweek, which would be a disaster. We have no clue. Like, I think we have the Iron Brew this week, then Cork game, and as far as I know, there's talk about it could be a midweek game after the Cork. So look, it will be a bit of inconvenience going up midweek, but it is what it is, and just have to deal with it. Yeah, you played them, of course, recently in the league and you beat them. So whenever that cup game does happen, the other teams in the semi-finals will be known because they're all on this Friday. But a chance for Bohs to make an FAI Cup semi-final is huge for the club, isn't it? Yes, huge for the club and for the fans. I don't know how long it's been since I've reached the final, but the fans do deserve a day out in Aviva, and it would be unbelievable if we could make it, and I don't see why not. And if you can keep the form up that you've had in the league and against them recently, it gives you a really good chance. But for them, it's the exact same principle. They're chasing third. They're not going to win a trophy after the EA Sports Cup final, of course, which they're going to play against Cove, and they've got a good chance to win that, but they will be aiming for the FAI Cup as a big one for them as well. I think it was a few seasons since we've beat them. I think it was 10 or so games, and to go up last week and get a clean sheet as well and come away with 3 points was massive, and it gave us lots of positive mindset going into the game. Yeah, and you'll head off to Scotland. I know you're going to fly on Friday, play on Saturday afternoon. It's a 3:30 kick-off against a team from Scottish League 2 called Peterhead. They're currently in their league. They're, I think, a couple of games in. They've played 5, they've won 3, they've drawn 1, they've lost 1. Do you know much about them, and what do you expect from this competition? I haven't a clue. I don't know much about them. But it's another game, so we're going to go into the game obviously looking to win it and see what happens. Yeah, we're of course chatting on Wednesday, so I'm sure between now and the match you'll get some info on them. Of course, yeah. Interesting as a League of Ireland player to play a game abroad that's not Europe, something that doesn't happen all the time? Yeah, I'm used to it. Like, I've played away with Ireland, different countries and stuff, so it's not that big of a deal. And if you can get through that, you'll get into the next round. And it's an interesting competition though, because it's something quite new for the league, but I'm assuming for you guys, you just want to go and win another match. Yeah, of course. I have to go into every game looking to win and see what happens after that. Evan Osam, hello, how are you?
How are you, Jay?
Great, thanks. FAI Cup for you guys is happening this Friday. You're top of the first division, a point away from being in the Premier. You play Finn Harps in 2 weeks in the Bowl on Friday, but your thoughts on playing Waterford this Friday and a Cup semi-final, like we said, for Darragh, for Bohs? It'd be huge for UCD as well.
Yeah, it'd be massive. Obviously, Cups, it's great to get a good cup run. We've obviously won the first 2 rounds, so big game against Waterford and be a big test, because I know their recent form hasn't been too great, but I mean they're still up, I think 4th maybe in the Premier Division, so be a good game.
Talk to me about the last round of the Cup and away to CIE Ranch, because it's fair to say it was a thriller. I was up at Drogheda, Waterford, and watching on live score, it was fairly dramatic for me to watch. What was it like being involved in?
Yeah, it was crazy. They scored, they were 2-0 up I think after about 15 minutes. Then we got one back before half time, but the second half we had a lot of chances, but their keeper was having a great game. He pulled off a lot of saves, and yeah, kind of thinking it might just be one of them days, but thankfully we equalised I think in the 89th minute, and then extra time they were down to 10 men and it was comfortable enough then. Finished 6-2, so. Yeah, the equaliser came from Jay McClelland almost with the last kick, and then Ranch almost scored at the other end to win at 3-2. Was there a period where it gets to 80-85 minutes where you're like, we're not going to score here? Yeah, it kind of was. As I said, their keeper was having a bit of a whirly. He pulled off a lot of great saves, so yeah, kind of thinking could be one of them days, but thankfully, as I say, Jay scored in the 89th minute.
And then you scored 4 in extra time. The other team got tired, they had 10 men, and it was a comprehensive win in the end. But I suppose that just shows what the Cup is like, that games like that, everybody thinks you're going to win, and you did in the end, but it was quite tight. But once the extra time came, you managed to really take control, and the last couple of goals were literally walked in almost.
Yeah, like anything can happen in the Cup, I suppose. It's a one-off game. To be fair to them, after they got their 2 goals, like, they did defend quite well in that, but thankfully we won in the end. I
think UCD Waterford will be a draw after 90 minutes. I've seen Waterford a couple of times recently, not being overly impressed by them. They don't really play a huge amount of football. What have you made of them from what you've seen, and your thoughts on trying to beat them on Friday?
To be honest, I haven't seen them recently. I've seen them a good bit at the start of the season. I think they're quite good in midfield. They play a diamond in midfield, I think, and they've got good players. Stanley Abora, Harry. Then they've got up top, they're quite good as well. Yeah, we know, like, it's going to be a tough game, even though, as I said, they haven't been in great form the last few weeks. But yeah, no, we'll go out and give it a bash.
Yeah, the one thing that might actually suit them is the pitch at the UCD Bowl is, I think, the biggest in the country. It's huge. They are quite direct. They'll play Izzy Akinade up with either Noel Hunt or Courtney Duffus, and your back four will need to be aware of trying to defend long balls, and you know, Izzy Akinade is a real threat for them, and I'm sure that's something you'll work on this week, is trying to defend against how they play. Yeah, definitely.
We know that they'll be a huge threat, particularly up top with the 2 boys, whoever it is. But yeah, we'll be working on it this week, and hopefully we can get it done.
For you as a fullback, playing against a team that doesn't play with wingers is an interesting one, because I can't think of any other team in the league that plays with a diamond in either division, and that might suit you from an attacking point of view, being able to, you know, one of your main assets is getting up the line, and that's something I'm sure you'll be looking to exploit without giving away any trade secrets.
Yeah, well, I haven't really played against that system, I don't think, too often, but I suppose from an attacking point of view there will be more space out wide, so but then again, defensively they'll have 2 up top, which again, probably not used to playing. It's usually 1 up top, so I'll have to cover the centre halves as well.
Is this fixture, in terms of the break from the league, does it come at a good time? Because you're now waiting 2 weeks hopefully to win the league against Finn Harps next Friday, yet you've got a chance to win an FAI Cup semi-final, so it's an interesting couple of weeks from that point of view.
Yeah, it is. I suppose it's kind of a break from the league. There's not the huge pressure to go out and get a win that we've had, like, with the league. But then again, we still do want to win. Like, it's a cup quarter final. It's a huge game, but it's probably not the same pressure that we do have for the league. So yeah, I suppose it is a nice break. It's come at a good time.
Has there been a pressure on the league, given every week you're probably moving a win away from winning the league, and you've got someone like Finn Harps really in really good form? Shells dropped points the weekend, but we're chasing as well. But knowing every Friday that if you don't win, like if you hadn't won last week, it could be down to 3 points, and then you play Harps, all of a sudden if they beat you, it's level going into the final game.
Yeah, I think particularly the last few weeks there has been a fair bit of pressure. Harps have been on a very good run. I think maybe 7 or 8 games, something like that they've won, and they haven't been conceding many, so we've kind of been going into every game knowing that we probably need to win, but thankfully we have.
Now, our third man in studio is another man who is a defender who likes scoring goals. Dan, how are you?
I'm good, Jay, thanks.
Tell us about the previous round of the FAI Cup and a certain Longford centre-back with a flying volley.
Well, I wanted Dylan McGlade to cross it to me head, but he cut it short and it just fell just inside the box, and I just caught it nicely with my left foot, so yeah, bottom corner.
Move off the training ground or a fluke?
Definitely not off the training ground, but we do shooting, but I wouldn't really credit it that, no.
Does, in terms of you as a defender, does Neil Fenn allow the defenders involved in the shooting drills and training, or does he send you up the other end to do a few headers?
Depends really, but we normally do a good bit of shooting together, but if we're breaking off obviously in groups, defenders and attackers, then obviously the attackers are just left to shoot, but yeah.
And once you lashed in the volley, you went on a mad run, mad celebration?
Yeah, well, as a defender, like Darragh and Nev know, like, you don't score that many goals, so you don't really know what to do, like, you just go a bit mad. But it was 1-0 at the time, and we lost 6-1 to Shells early on the year, so we kind of owed them one, and it felt good to us. So 2-0 clean sheet as well. It was nice.
And that gets you into the next round, of course, against Cork, who were the defending champions in an interesting period in their own season with, defeat to Sligo. They picked up a point in their previous home game against Pat, so they're really chasing the league now from a distance behind Dundalk. So what was your thoughts when that draw came out?
Well, we actually got them this time in the exact same quarterfinals last year, so I think in my opinion, they're different to last year in how they play. Like, we know they're quite direct, so like, I'm not saying we do kind of fancy our chances. Like, we have a home draw. It's on a Friday night. It's on the box. So obviously the lads will want to do well. So we're looking forward to it now, to be honest.
Yeah, I was hoping that game would be on Saturday when Longford play, because it could have gone to Boken and go to watch Ev's team on Friday as well. Cork are under a little bit of spotlight now in terms of the league and their European exit and stuff like that, but they're still the defending champions. They won the double last year. They won the cup the previous year. They've still got really, really good players against the first division team. So it's going to be a tough game. Yeah,
it'll be very tough for us. We hope they're kind of like a bit cautious of us, because they've obviously dropped points recently, but I do think they'll go full strength, and like, we have to be on our toes from the start. So it'll be a very tough game. Like, so first 10 or 15 minutes will be very important. Yeah, hopefully a big crowd in Longford as well. And spoke to the lads about the momentum of both of their teams. Your team is the same in terms of the first division. Yourselves and Drogheda, it's going to be fascinating. You think you play each other soon enough in the league as well for that fourth spot in the league, but most recently beat Cabinteely 4-1, hat-trick for Dylan McGlade. Talk to us about playing in the team with him, because his second and third goals, albeit both in the 90th minute, were like brilliant. Yeah, well, I hope Dylan doesn't mind me saying it, but he actually didn't do much in the game, but he scored a hat-trick. So now listen, we know if we give the ball to someone like Dylan, he can make things happen, and I thought he should have shot a bit earlier for the one he rounded the keeper, but listen, it went in the end. So he looks like a winger from the 1970s, like with the socks round his ankles and the kind of long hairstyle and whatever, but he just plays like he doesn't have a care in the world, and that seems to be it's clearly helping your team, but he seems to be someone who's really enjoying the freedom of being able to play there. Yeah, well, I think Neil, the manager, lets him have a bit of freedom. Like, he normally plays on the left, but he's kind of let do his own thing, I suppose, and he's just quite confident as a person, and that comes out on the pitch. So like, you wouldn't really class him as someone that if you gave out to him, like, he'd like go into himself. Like, he kind of just used that to spur himself on. So he's been very good for us this year, as a lot of players have been. Yeah, and things getting really interesting in the league as well. What's your assessment of, and one of the great things about the playoffs this year is that it's kept it alive for 5 or 6 teams in the league. Spoke to Evan there about the stressful environment of trying to win the league. I'm sure it's as stressful trying to make sure you finish fourth, and the way things have gone recently, it's a toss-up now between yourselves and Drogheda, really. Yeah, well, we were quite inconsistent for a bit, and I thought that would kind of bite us come towards the end of the season, but we've won 5 in the trot, including the cup as well. But like, we're really bringing in good momentum going in. We've Drogheda actually Friday week, so we're a point ahead of them, so it's kind of win that, and we're in the playoffs really before playing UCD at the last day of the season. So it's tight at the moment, but it's in our hands. Like, yeah, they're away to Cove on the last day as well. You'll have hoped that UCD have won the league and have been on the piss for 2 weeks, which is quite possible. Ev, is it?
No, I don't think so, guys.
The UCD students know how to have a little party.
Both be on the piss together, hopefully.
That's it. But yeah, as you said, if you beat Drogheda in the next game, you're going to the match, you're a point ahead of them. They've really dropped off in the last couple of weeks, so you can actually secure it before the last game, which is massive. But similar to what I said to Evan about the Finn Harps thing, if you lose to them, it's them in the driving seat on the last day, and you'll literally be very, very nervy on that day. Yeah, well, it's obviously it's good to be in that stage, like, for us being a point ahead, but like, going away to Drogheda, it's a small pitch, like, and they'll obviously be up for it, so it'll be a very tough game. Like, so hopefully we put in a good performance, maybe get a good result on Friday, and then we'll look forward to the league game next week. So yeah, of course the cup is first on the agenda, but it's an exciting time to be a Longford player, given the cup run and given that the league is still alive. And just explain to us how you found, you've been at Longford now for a couple of seasons, you've been a regular in the team. How have you found life there? And you played under a couple of different managers as well. Yeah, well, when I came, I've played under Tony Cousins, Alan Matthews, and now Neil. Like, so it's just been great playing games, like, getting consistency of games. Like, over the last 2 years, I think it's done me the world of good. Like, and just finding that form, like, being in and out of teams, it's hard to show your best. So over the last 1.5 to 2 years, I've been
really enjoying it. So long may it last.
Yeah, you're quite similar to Darragh in terms of moving to the UK and coming back. Just tell us about your move to Fulham and you had a couple of loans in the lower leagues in the UK and eventually you've come back. You came back, you went again, and you've come back. Just give us the kind of overview to your time over the last few years.
Well, obviously I went over at 16, similar to Darragh probably, but it's hard obviously moving away from home, but you just have this like goal in your head, and it's different when you go over. Like, it's a different mentality to playing underage here. It's obviously every day, and the standard of players is very good, and that kind of didn't work out for me in the end. Like, I was 19, then I went to Hereford in the lower leagues, and they ended up going bust, so I came home to Bray, and I was kind of up and down. I was quite young as well, I was 20, so it was only really over the last 2 years, I'm 23 now, that I've really found my form and like really been enjoying myself and feeling confident playing football, like, you know.
What were you expecting from England when you moved there in 2014?
Well, obviously I had the goal of getting in the first team. Like, Fulham were in the Premier League when I was there, so like when I first met up with like the under-18s managers and the academy director, like, they're telling me things like they had hopes for me and stuff, but a lot can change, like in clubs, especially in England, like with people moving in and out, different managers, so like that didn't help with me. And then we had a change of the reserves manager, which didn't really work my way, so like things were kind of, it just didn't work out in the end for me. Like, but like a lot of people when they come home, it's hard really to take, like, but you just have to find that drive in yourself to keep going, like, and it will work out eventually.
From your own point of view, Darragh, tell us your story and your move to Coventry, your time there, and you're home now flying.
Well, it was with Kevin's at the time. We went over just for a little tour trip, if you like, and we played against Coventry, and obviously liked what they're saying. Stayed over there for another week on trial, and then went over just in January, just after Christmas 2015 it was. So I was there for just under 3 years. I was 16 when I went over. It was tough, you know, training twice a week here. I went over, then it was full-time stuff, and twice a day you're in the gym, and it's hard to adapt. So yeah, it was tricky enough for the first while, but you do get used to it.
What sort of things were in your head as that 16-year-old when the offer comes and you're making a decision to stay or go?
Well, I think it's nearly every boy's dream. You want to be a footballer, and you couldn't really turn it down, you know, go over and into a professional team when you're training every day, so it was hard to turn down.
What was in your head at the time when you had the options of school? You know, at that time the League of Ireland Academy Leagues were only really starting off. The 19s League, this was 2015, wasn't it? So the 17s League might have just been starting, but there wasn't really much here probably in your mind to stay for, and you decided to make the jump and try it.
Yeah, obviously I've no regrets, and I didn't really think about anything else, just I wanted to go over, and it was an experience and see what happened. I know I'm back now and stuff, but I see it as a positive, you know, take it as a little bounce board, and you hopefully go back over in a few years. But if not, the League of Ireland is getting better standard, and I think it's improving every year.
Yeah, like at that time when you moved first, when you were in your first few months in England, what was that period like, and were you prepared for the homesickness, the living away, the move from being a part-time schoolboy footballer here to a full-time player there, just that first couple of months, weeks there?
Yeah, as I said, it was hard to adapt. You know, you're living in digs by yourself and stuff, and you finish training about 1-2 o'clock, so you have the rest of the day doing nothing. Like, but yeah, it was hard. But I think I moved over in January, and I was home. The season ended then in April, so it would kind of help me in a way that I didn't move over at the start of the year, because it was only 3 or 4 months, and I was back home. So,
and from the point of view of the football, you know, we talk a lot about the homesickness and maybe other bits and pieces, but in terms of actually being a full-time footballer for those 3 years, in what ways did they help you as a footballer?
You're training every day, so obviously you're going to improve with the facilities and the coaches and the players you're playing with and against. You're only going to improve. So
yeah, and when you are there, like, and you're in the academy teams, and something you hear all the time is the amount of people above you and ahead of you in the different age groups, and you're trying to get into the 19s, the 23s, the 18s, whatever it might be, into the first team. Are you very aware, very young, that there are people ahead of you and you do need to try and jump them?
Yeah, and it's probably harder for Dan. You know, he was in the Premiership of Fulham, so they'd have a bigger budget and bring people in. But with Coventry, they're in a league or two below, so I thought like it would be a bit easier, if you like, because they'd give young players a chance, but whatever happened, it obviously wasn't. So
yeah, from your point of view, Evan, you've not been in the UK yet. Hopefully you will be there. When you were a kid, you also played for a really good St Kevin's team, and I'm sure you had lots of trials and opportunities. Hasn't happened yet, but just explain to us your path here, because you played for Kevin's, you signed for Shamrock Rovers. I think you made your debut there at 16. Had a loan at Shells, back to Rovers, and now at UCD in college. Just give us your path from when you left Kevin's into the League of Ireland firstly.
So I left Kevin's after under 16s, I think, and went straight to Rovers 19s. I played there for, I think, half a season maybe, and then at the time there was a Rovers B team, so I played there and then made my first team debut as well. Then I had a loan at Shells, came back to Rovers, and then went to UCD. Was
your first team debut in Waterford? Is my mind wrong there? Or I remember you playing some sort of a game in Waterford as a kid.
It was Bray, away to Bray. First team debut, yeah.
How was that?
Yeah, it was unbelievable. There was quite a big support there, Rovers fans, at that game. And we won 3-0 as well, so good memories.
Yeah, just was speaking there to the lads about that transition from being a schoolboy player here to an academy in England. You made the transition from being a schoolboy player here almost to a League of Ireland first team, and you were training full time with Rovers under Trevor as the manager at the time. How did you find that, going from being a kid in a schoolboy club to playing in a men's league almost within months?
Yeah, it happened very quickly. I think it was probably less than a year from the time I finished at Kevin's to when I made my first team debut. But no, it was quite, like, at Rovers, the lads, all the first team players, like, were quite good to me, and as you said, Trevor was there at the time and he helped me a lot, and John Gill was the assistant manager. He was very good to me at that stage and helped me a lot as well.
Yeah, and when you make your first appearance so young, you're probably having dreams of staying in the team and, you know, staying there as a pro and hopefully making moves away. But you're also very aware, similar to the lads in academies, that there's senior players who want to take their spot back. And for you, there were lots of other senior players at the time at Rovers, and having made an instant impact as such, your game time started to dwindle off and you went on loan to Shells. But that, I suppose, just shows if you're a young player in the league, it doesn't always work out. You'll definitely go straight in and play.
Yeah, I think at the time when I made my debut, Luke Byrne was the left back, but he was just coming back from an injury. Then we had a change of manager as well. Pat Fenlon came in and Lukey was back fit, so yeah, it was tough. It was tough for me to stay in the team. But then I had the loan at Shells the next year and I played nearly every game in the first division with them, so that was a good experience as well.
Yeah, you were back to Shamrock Rovers then, and you signed for UCD at the start of last season, the 2017 season, and you're now in college studying physio. Tell us about that, why you decided to leave Rovers to move to UCD, moving down a league, but obviously the education side of things was something that interested you a lot.
Yeah, the education was a big thing. I had an injury, tore my ACL when I was just 18, I think, and that kind of opened my eyes and made me realise that, you know, like, the football won't last forever and it could be taken away at any time. So I decided after that I wanted to kind of further my education, and UCD was the best place to do that. So
you're studying physio alongside Christy Fagan, another League of Ireland star, currently out with a very serious injury himself. How have you found that in terms of course? And I would think studying to be a physio, there's quite a lot of workload involved, plus trying to be a footballer as well. Yeah, it was quite tough at the start. It was a bit of a shock, to be honest, the workload, like, it's quite intense and that. But after a few weeks I kind of got settled into it, and it's something that I'm interested in as well, which makes it easier, so I'm enjoying it. What are the interesting parts of learning to be a physio? Yeah, I suppose just learning about injuries and stuff that, like, I would have had and would have seen throughout my career and that, and just getting to know more about them. And I would think you learn very early in the process of being a physio all of the simple bits, like you guys, I'm sure, every week get a rub, get, you know, your ankle strapped, whatever's happening, that you can learn those bits early, and then it's, I would think, learning the more serious stuff about injury rehab maybe later. Is that? Yeah, well, at the start you kind of just learn all the different parts of the body, what they do, muscles and stuff like that, and yeah, learn the simple kind of stuff, and then
as you go on, you learn more about the harder stuff.
Speaking of rubs and massages, Dan, you were away for the weekend, romantic weekend away with the missus, and you were seen in a dressing gown in a masseuse of some sort. Tell us about that.
Just had a little spa getaway for the anniversary, so that's nice. Just get away and chill sometimes. You know yourself, Jay.
Oh, I do. I would be accustomed to the all massage, not the sunbeds though. You were on one yesterday, were you, before you came in here?
No, I actually went for a walk out in Bray, but
very nice.
Got a bit of a colour, so it was nice.
So the colour's actually real.
Good timing, yeah. Good timing.
Excellent. Tell me about your own work-life balance, because you're working full-time in a gym as a personal trainer, playing football as well, and you're also aware since coming back that you can't only play football. Yeah,
well, like Ev with college, it was a hard adaptation. Like coming in, I started work with my dad, and I found out that I didn't really want to do that. So I just looked at other options, and I seen personal training was one I wanted to go into because I enjoyed the gym, and from being away, it's quite interesting seeing like how you can grow your body and improve yourself and relate it to the game. So I did a course, and now I'm working in a gym in Leixlip, which is 10 minutes from my house, and it's where we actually train with Longford, so it suits me. But yeah, I'm still want to further my education, so I still have a lot to learn in that sense.
Yeah, you're working, as we said, as a personal trainer. You eat like a king. Your Instagram is every day. It makes me feel 4 stone overweight, given to see what you eat. It's something that you take very seriously, but also living like that is not an easy thing to do. There's a lot of plan and prep involved.
Yeah, well, I kind of plan it around my obviously work, but more so football with training, and I found over the years what works for my body and what doesn't, and I've gone into games before where I haven't had energy, and I just found I wasn't eating enough, or sometimes my nutrition wasn't right. So I've kind of found the balance now and what works, and it's kind of just a routine for me, so I enjoy it really. So it's something I love doing, and a lot of people have kind of get on to me and wondering what I eat and when I eat and stuff, and it's enjoyable. Like, that's the most important thing.
Well, if people want to find out what you eat, they can follow you on Instagram. Tell us about the League of Ireland player who called you fat, and you decided to put up a tweet and an Instagram photo with the 8-pack to prove this. Was it a Shells player wrong?
It was a Shells player, yeah. Do
you want to name and shame him? You don't have to.
No, I'll leave it at that. You can scroll back in the tweets. But yeah, we just played him at the start of last season, and he wasn't really in great shape himself. But I just thought it'd be funny after the game to throw up a tweet, and yeah, kind of went off a bit.
So he actually called you fat during the match?
Yeah. So
nice.
I decided I bit back, but I don't know if I should have, but what can you do?
In terms of on the pitch in the League of Ireland, are verbals a big thing in the box? People standing on your toes, you know, calling you fat, calling you this, calling you that, they're a part of the game?
Yeah, it would be a lot. It'd be stuff that you wouldn't really be seeing. Like, obviously, within the league, a lot of people know each other. Like, you could play against UCD and you'd obviously know Ev and a lot of the players. Like, so it would be more so teams like away from home and stuff like that, and they be coming to your place like further away, the likes of Cove and stuff like that. But it does go on a bit, especially when it's not going your way or going their way. That does happen, yeah.
Ev, what's the most outrageous thing you've heard on a football pitch, either said to you or you've just overheard? Player having a go at a player, manager a fan?
Yeah, well, that one to Dan's a bit outrageous when you see the shape he's in and stuff. Not too sure, to be honest. I can't
really repeat it here, can you?
Well, you can. On a podcast, it's a bit different to the radio, but it what I'm saying is it does go on, and people in the stand don't see it or hear it, but particularly on sets and stuff.
Yeah, it definitely
was on everywhere.
And do you guys find as younger players, you maybe, you know, the senior ones try and bully you from that sense, or?
Alright, yeah. People probably let it get to them, but I just blow over my head. I don't let it get to me at all.
You give as good as you get.
Yeah, I'm sure you do. How many games have you played for both in the league? About 20, maybe more?
Probably more than that now, yeah.
Okay, including injury?
Yeah, no, it would be more than 20, I think, yeah.
How have you found it in terms of the comparison to where you've been in England?
Yeah, I'd have to adapt because now we train at night time, you know. Earlier with Coventry, I was during the day and stuff. And obviously I'm working away now, so I have to adapt, balance both out, but luckily it's working out well. Yeah,
I should have mentioned there about your work as well, having spoken to the other two boys. You're working with your dad?
Yeah, working away, doing an apprenticeship in upholstery with my dad, so it's going well. You know, it's working out well. Last week, for instance, I had Derry away and we'd have to leave very early, and this week we're over in Scotland. He obviously doesn't mind if I have to need time off for football, so it's working out well in that case.
How early after your return home, did you realise that you needed to do something away from football, whether that be education or work?
No, I had it before I moved home. You know, before I made my mind up, I had to take that into account, and he obviously offered me. So as soon as I moved home, I started straight away.
And it's been good so far, and it's helpful that it's your dad and he owns the company, so if there's an away match or something, you need an extra hour in bed, he can sort you out.
Yeah.
Darragh, the best League of Ireland player you've faced so far, and why?
League of Ireland, there's been a few, you know. Probably up in Dundalk, Duffy and McGrath and Hoban at the front three with them, probably. Just because they're so quick, and the whole team, and they're probably the best team in the league I've played against anyway, you know, the movement and physicality as well, so all that. Yeah,
they're 6 points ahead of Cork. Now, when you're playing against Cork and playing against Dundalk, what are the differences in playing in those games? Because there was a lot of commentary about their styles. Yeah,
I know Cork probably are more direct. Dundalk like to get around and play and move, and so yeah, that would be the difference between them.
Evan, best player you've played against across your time in the league? Which is probably 7 years now, is it?
Experienced. League of Ireland, I'd probably say Darragh Leahy a couple of years ago. When I was at Shells, we played him in the cup, and yeah, he was excellent.
Did he play on your side?
He was kind of switching.
Okay.
So I was thankful when he
moved over.
Side, yeah.
Dan?
We played Dundalk maybe a year and a half ago, and I thought Dave McMillan was quite good, his movement, and Darragh Leahy as well. Like you think you're tight to him, and he just pulls off, and the delivery was just pinpoint. Like, so probably them two, yeah.
Is it a coincidence that you've all mentioned Dundalk players, given that they're the best team currently?
Yeah, last few years they've just been
step ahead, haven't they?
Yeah, it's been unbelievable the last few years. Even last year, I know they didn't win the league or cup, but they've still been excellent.
What makes them so good?
I'm not too sure. I mean, I think a lot has been made. They're kind of their physicality in that. When you see them all, they're all quick and strong. But they've got some excellent players there as well.
Ev, give me a career high point or low point.
High point would be my debut for Rovers. When I away to Bray when I was 16, it was unbelievable. Like.
And the low point would be the bad knee injury.
Yeah, definitely. It was just shocking, like being told that you might not play again. Yeah, that was definitely.
What exactly were you told at that time? It happened, for those who don't know, you were with the Irish 19s. You were training. Was it in Cork or was it in Carton House? It was one of those. The Johnson House in Enfield. Yeah. Tell us that story.
Yeah, so we were playing Euro qualifiers. It was I think the second day of training, and I went to block across, and when I landed, my knee just hyperextended. I tore my ACL and my lateral ligament as well. And just when I went to see a surgeon a couple of days later, and he just said to me, like, I can't guarantee you that I'll be able to fix this. He said, obviously I'll do my best, but I can't guarantee you that you'll be able to go back playing, which was shocking, like, at the time to hear that. But thankfully I did get back.
How do you look back on that time now, given you're fully back fit, fully back in the team, in a really good team, in a really good run of form, ironically now studying to be a physio, but when you were a couple of years younger and you're told your career might be done before it's really started?
Yeah, like, it was obviously a really tough time, but it's made me better and stronger, I suppose, having come through that, and it makes me appreciate the game more now as well, because I've seen that it can be taken away from you at any time.
Dan, high point and low point for you?
Probably high point was winning the under-18 Premier League over in England, and then low point, probably at the time it was probably getting released and coming to terms with having to go home and stuff like that. So I'd probably call that transition a low point at that time. Yeah.
How does that conversation work for a young player in England to be told you're not getting a contract renewed, you're going home?
I wouldn't really determine it just on that conversation. You can kind of gauge as time goes on with how you're playing and the way they feature other players. So it's more so over a period of time that it's hard, but obviously being told face to face that, listen, we're not going to offer you another contract, it's hard to take into account. And then you've got your summer to kind of plan and try get another club or come home. Like it's just a hard real period, I'd probably say, like for a young player, especially if you're 18 or 19. Like you're young, like, do you know what I mean? And you've no first team games, and you're hoping a manager will take a risk on you by taking you on board. Like, so, yeah.
Is there enough help and advice there, Darragh, at that time? You were in that situation too, for you to help, apart from obviously your family and stuff?
Yeah, same as Dan, you kind of just know, as you said, picking other players and stuff, and I went out on loan 2 or 3 times and didn't work out, wasn't playing, and I just kind of knew, you got fed up and just chose to come home then.
And at that time when you've made that choice, like, is it just your family? Is there an agent? Do the club offer, someone to speak to? The FAI, you've played for the Irish up to 19s as well. Does anyone else offer to help you?
In my case, the club didn't know, the FAI didn't. It's just more family, stuff like that. So that was the help that I got, yeah. That's,
a hard time, and you would think with the amount of professional people you come in contact with across your career that there would be a system of a counsellor or an expert or a former player to sit you down and go, listen, this is...
Over in Coventry, Michael Doyle, he was the captain. He obviously texted me and said, look, like, it's not the end of the world, and luckily for me, it was at Christmas when I chose to come home, and straight away the pre-season started with Bows and started January, so didn't have too much time to think about it. I just went straight in and started from there.
You can pick across your time in England or Ireland, but the best player you've played with and why?
Best player I played with? Probably James Maddison now. He's just on for Leicester. When I was on for Coventry, he was a year older than me. He's just technically unbelievable, and his ability, what he does with the ball. And
here in the league so far?
Best player I played with.
The Bowes lads will be watching this now with interest.
I can't name names, but there's a few. JJ, Wardy as well. Kev Devaney plays ahead of me. We've got a bit of a link up going now, so hopefully that continues. The
best photo in the history of the League of Ireland was Keith Ward with the corner flag and the jersey after the derby.
Yeah, I think he did that because back in April he broke the corner flag when we scored, so he's just having a bit of banter.
And he didn't get caught?
No, I think Dan Byrne got the yellow that time.
Which was good. He's some character, Wardy, but what a player. He doesn't play every match, but he must be a joy to be played on, and I'm sure he does unbelievable things in training.
Yeah, he's been around the league as well, so he's got a big experience, and he's just a good lad to have in the change room, and as you said, on the pitch, he's a very good player, yeah.
Evan, number one teammate for you across your long League of Ireland career?
Stephen McPhail. I'd say he's unbelievable. It's easy to see why he had the career that he did.
Yeah, he came back late, played, I think could have been 37 when he played for Rovers. You would have been a young one then. What was he like to play with, and also as a help as a young player?
Yeah, he was a great help. Obviously, he was experienced and coming towards the end of his career, and yeah, he did help me a lot. And just to get to even see him train every day, like how good he is, he never gives the ball away. It's just unbelievable.
Would you have played with Damien Duff as well, or was he the following season?
I did a little bit. Actually, when I was coming back from my injury, he was coaching at Rovers, and he used to do a lot of kind of stuff with me, 1v1s and stuff, and he used to skin me a lot. So yeah,
he'd skin you.
Yeah,
nice. Dan, for you, teammate?
I don't know. There's a few that I've played with that are quite good. Obviously, Dylan's doing well now. Graham Kelly, when I was at Bray, was very good. He's at Pats now. And Noel Haverty last year, I played centre half, and he's actually retired now, but I thought he was very, very good and very underrated, so that would just be in the league, yeah.
For young people watching and listening who wouldn't be, overly interested in the league or whatever, what would you say to someone who's not a League of Ireland fan about the League of Ireland? How would you describe it? What good things would you say about it? Because we're trying, to get more people in the gates this weekend at Longford, for example. It's a massive game. You would hope there's a huge crowd there. You chance to be back in the Premier next year. But there's not enough people at the games. There definitely isn't for all of the clubs involved.
Well, I think if you're local to your club, like if it's Bows, UCD or Longford, every club's different. But I think to support your local club, and you can build a fan base, like obviously getting young players, if there's parents bringing young people to watch the games is great. And you don't want it just when you're playing the likes of Cork. You want it every week, whether it's against Cabinteely or Cove or anyone else. Like, you're trying to encourage, and I don't think it gets enough coverage or media. Like, obviously it's trying to improve that, but I don't think overall, like, it's from the whole of Ireland, like, it's not getting enough coverage, like, to push on.
Is the perception of the league frustrating as a League of Ireland player? Like even I mentioned upstairs to a couple of other people who work in the building here, and I asked them, you know, what I asked the lads, and one of them said, why is the League of Ireland so shit? Which just really annoys me.
Yeah, well, I think that's a bit like very, very harsh, because when I came
from someone who's never seen a game, by the way.
Yeah, well, that's what they think. Like, they think it's shit. Like, whether you're in the first, well, probably especially if you're in the first division. Like, but if you come home from England, like, it's the transition is very hard, and there's some good players in the league. Like, and the standard of fitness, and especially because there's more teams going full time, which is good. The likes of Cork going 52 weeks. Like, it's like, it's unfair to say it's shit. Like, but I think more people need to go out and actually watch a game to see what it's like.
How do we change that perception, Evan, that is there from a lot of people who watch Man United every week and watch whoever else they watch every week, and they never go near a game or never even think about a game or know anything about the league? How do we change that?
Yeah, well, as you said, I think it's a lot of the people that say that are people that never go to games. I mean, you only have to look at some of the players that have gone away, like Graham Burke is probably most recently, like and Shonny Maguire as well, both doing very well at Preston in international squads and things. I think, yeah, like even like Bows and Rovers, like going to games like that, like you can't get that watching TV, the atmosphere, especially for young kids. I think just get out and watch games.
It's annoying though, isn't it, when you hear that attitude? And no. I'm not claiming the League of Ireland is the best league in the world, even though it's called the greatest league in the world, ironically, but if people actually went to a game, brought their kids, they'd actually enjoy it. Yeah,
definitely. Like, there is definitely quality on show. Obviously, I mean, it's not the same standard as you watch in the Premier League, but there is a lot of quality, yeah.
You've had a foot on both sides, Darragh, England and Ireland. How do you feel and when you hear someone like that saying you're playing in a shit league?
Yeah, as the lads are saying, it is a bit frustrating, but majority of the people who say that haven't gone to see the game. And the atmosphere, especially at a Dublin derby like Rovers and Bows, like, you don't really experience that anywhere else.
And one thing that Bows have done really well over the years, but particularly this season, the links with the community. There's always a core support at the games. There's a good atmosphere at the games, and that's something that your club has done quite well. Just explain us a little bit about that and how that helps, and getting the community involved. Even the stuff in Mountjoy is fantastic. Yeah,
it helps a lot. You know, there's always a great support at the games, and especially the away games. There's always they always bring a big crowd, and with the community, it does help. You know, they're kind of all together and all on the same page. Like,
if I was to give you a job as the head of the SSE Airtricity League, and you were to put one change on the table for the league to help all of you, what would that be? Would it be marketing? Would it be budgets? Would it be more prize money?
More coverage, more media. You know, get out there, because there's not much on Twitter, and the odd game is on TV. Really like more games on live on TV.
The one thing you do need, though, if the games are live on TV, is good games, and that's something. I'm not sure if the games are I'm not sure how it works in terms of how many teams have to be shown, but you would think every Court and Dock game should be on TV. You would think every Rovers and Bows game should be on TV. This weekend, people have a chance to see Longford, but there's a debate about TV games whether it affects the attendance. But the viewers on TV could be in the hundreds of thousands, like.
Yeah.
So from that point of view, from a point of view of a player, you feel if more games are on TV, it could help sell the league?
Possibly, yeah. I mean, even like coverage on games on Twitter and stuff like that, you know.
Evan, for you, what one thing would you do?
Yeah, I think more games on TV. I think like kind of at the start of the season, they tend to show a few, and maybe towards the end of the season as well, a few. But yeah, I don't think that there's enough games on TV. And as Darragh said as well, just general kind of coverage in the media on Twitter and stuff like that.
Yeah, I would love, I'm not just saying this because you're both in the First Division, but First Division highlights included. I think you've got, and we cover the First Division every week on the podcast and the Premier, because there's 10 teams you're cutting off, and for me, I think show more First Division. You've got some huge clubs in the league. We've spoken about how fascinating the playoffs are. Longford, for example, make their own YouTube highlights.
Yeah, well, that's all it takes. Like, is even if you want the video man sending clips of the game, like there's match of the days on every Saturday night, and there's 20 teams in that, so why not make 20 teams between the First Division and the Premier? Like, it makes sense.
And the clubs themselves also, some are very good on social media, some are not so good, but for me it's just a free tool to promote your players, your club and everything else, and there is a mix of clubs that are good at it and clubs that aren't, and that's something I think that's a very simple fix.
Yeah, well, I think every club should have someone that's in charge in the media. Like ours has been actually really good this year compared to recent years, so people can obviously go onto YouTube and look up Longford Town highlights and they can see the players in action, see the goals, and if you make mistakes, whatever, but it's all there, like, do you know what I mean? So there's no real excuses, like.
Now, lads, very finally, some interesting news on the international front today. And I know you're all former Ireland underage internationals, up to under-19s in a couple of cases as well. The back page of the Daily Star newspaper, an exclusive from Paul Lennon. Rice considering return to green. Back on deck is the headline. Declan Rice is seriously considering a swift return to Ireland duty ahead of next month's Crunch Nations League Dublin doubleheader. The rising 19-year-old West Ham star stunned Martin O'Neill, his Ireland teammates and the Irish game 10 days ago when announcing that he wished to take time out from his commitment to the boys in green. It's understood now that he may be coming back, although it won't be for these games, of course, in the next couple of days, but he could be back in the squad. Some people have tipped him to be a future Ireland captain. He has some caps at senior level. What's your overall thoughts, the three of you, on the thought of having him back in green, I suppose?
You don't know what's going on behind the scenes, you know, something could happen, so I don't really read too much into it.
Yeah, and I know Martin O'Neill, I think he's handled it really well, and he did say that he is a young player, and something has obviously been said to him from someone in England to go, we'd like you to consider playing for us. So can you understand his wanting time to consider the fact he's played senior games? Possibly, yeah, but obviously we're just from Ireland, we just want to play for one team, or one, like Ireland, we don't want to be chosen between, so you just don't know what's going on. Evan, what's your thoughts been on the whole thing?
To be honest, I probably wouldn't have him back. Like, I think you should know who you want to play for. I mean, like, I know that there are a lot of English lads that have Irish relatives and all, but I think some of them want to play for Ireland, and it wouldn't matter if England came in for them, they'd still choose Ireland. But then there are others who probably only play for Ireland because they can't get into the England team. So I think you should know who you want to represent.
So if he comes back next week, rings Martin O'Neill and says, I'd like to play for Ireland, you feel he should say, sorry Declan, you've messed up here?
I do, yeah, I do.
Dan, your thoughts on that point of view?
Well, I agree with Evan there. Like, I think if you've played for Ireland, whether it's a friendly or, well, obviously you can't switch allegiances when you've played a competitive game, but I think if you've played a friendly, I think that should be your commitment. It's not really a trial. Like, I think it's the job's done then. Like, we are similar to Darragh. I played with Jack Grealish, like, and all the way up he was like really passionate for Ireland, but you don't know what's going on behind the scenes or what's really going on in their heads. So
interesting views on the three lads. Very finally, Darragh, we have to mention the Bohs under-19s won the Cup, beat Pats by 2-1 on Tuesday night. They were 1-0 down. Ali Ragba scored twice, 2 brilliant goals to win the Cup for Bohs, and they heard their draw for the underage Champions League. They're going to face FC Midtjylland from Denmark, so it's interesting time for the Bohs 19s. Were you at the final, and your thoughts on them playing in Europe?
I wasn't actually at the final, but sort of they 1-0 down at half time, came from behind. You know, a couple of the lads do be training with us. They are a very good team. You know, Andy Lyons and Danny Grant have been playing with the first team. You know, so it only helps when they go back down to the 19s to show the lads like what they've played with the first team. Yeah, the first leg of that game is going to be taking place on the 3rd of October in Denmark, with the second leg taking place 3 weeks later on the 24th of October at Daleyman Park. Should be a great game, and hopefully we'll get a crowd down to that one as well. And the best of luck to 3 League of Ireland players involved in the Irish under-19s this week. They're going to play Wales in 2 friendlies, in Longford on Sunday and in Galway on Tuesday. Andy Lyons from Bohs, Aaron Bulger from Shamrock Rovers, and Brian Marr from St Pat's. So good luck to those 3, the only 3 home-based players in that Ireland squad as well. And we're about to hear from Jamie McGrath as well on his under-21 call-up, lads. And it's great to see another League of Ireland player. I think I worked out 7 with a League of Ireland connection, either current or former, in the 21s in a couple of Euro qualifiers. You've all played underage up to 19s as well, a couple of you, so it's great to see someone like Jamie doing so well here, Ev, and having the chance to hopefully go and play for the 21s in a couple of big games.
Yeah, it's brilliant. I think they're in a good position. I think they're probably second in the group, are they?
Yeah, they're second in the group.
It's great for him to be involved in that. I've seen him like a lot. He's a very good player, and it's good for other young lads in the league to see that if you're playing well, that you'll get that chance. If it's 21s or 19s.
Yeah, and the one thing he is going to say, the magic of podcasts, I've actually spoken to him already, is that he's very happy that Noel King, the 21s manager, is in a League of Ireland stadium every Friday. And for someone like you, Darragh, who's played up to 19s, and I'm sure has ambitions to play in 21s, to know that, and we've seen Martin O'Neill at games too, but to know that the manager in your age group is actually at games is a plus.
There's always someone watching a game, you never know who's watching, but obviously my main focus is first with Bows and just concentrate on that and see what happens from there. But obviously you'd love to play for your country. And
for you, Dan, as Darragh mentioned there, you never know who's watching. Even in the first division, there's always someone at a game that you can impress, and with the run you guys have been on, I'm sure that's even more so. But you never really know who's watching. Even when you're a younger player and you might get a move to some man in a coat, not wearing a club coat, could be the scout for Barcelona.
Yeah, well, you just have to read. Well, I wouldn't go that far.
Could be, you never know.
That's you, is it?
Well, no, because Longford Town playing El Grand Classico, or what's it called, the Midlands
El
Classico?
Classico, yeah, against.
So there you go.
But no, really just treat every game, whether it's down in Cove or it could be against Athlone. Like, you just have to treat every game the same, because you need to build that consistency, and then, like, you never know who's there. So once you're being consistent, then that's all you can do, I suppose.
Lads, thanks a million for coming in.
Cheers.
Longford's Dan O'Reilly, Evan Osam from UCD and Darragh Leahy from Bowes. Our final port of call on the podcast this week. There's only 3 fixtures in the FAI Cup quarter-finals. Longford Town against Cork City. That's a 7:30 kick-off. I nearly said throw-in because we've been talking about the Dubs for so long. 7:30 kick-off in City Calling Stadium. That game is live on RTE television. Limerick against Dundalk down at the Markets Field at 7:45, and at the same time a game I'll be at watching Evans UCD taking on Waterford. I'm predicting Longford against Cork will be a draw after 90 minutes, as will UCD and Waterford, and I fancy an upset in one of those games. I don't know why, I just think there will be. And for Darragh, he's going to have to wait to play against Derry in the FAI Cup, but he's looking forward to the Scottish Iron Brew Cup against Peterhead on Saturday as well. Now, if you're watching the podcast, you're not going to be able to watch Jamie McGrath because he was in a hotel in Kosovo, and to say the Wi-Fi was horrendous is an understatement. So if you're listening to the audio, here's my chat with Jamie. If not, you can find the chat in the podcast section of offtheball.com, and we will speak to you next Wednesday. See you folks, bye bye.